In the vast world of games, there are many different kinds of RPGs, post-apocalyptic, epic space opera, so on and so forth. But my personal favorite has always been medieval RPG. Anyway, let's get to the chase here. The game in question is Mount & Blade Warband. Warband was originally actually a standalone expansion for Mount & Blade, but at this point I forget the original even existed. Across the main games and standalones, Mount & Blade Warband seems to be favored by most fans at least. I mean, as of now, it's the 19th highest rated game on Steam. Anyway, time to move on to the game itself. Mount & Blade Warband is a strategic RPG based in the medieval fantasy world of Calendria. Calradia. There are 6 factions across the map, starting with roughly the same amount of land. Warband is a medieval sandbox game. You can build army, take castles, cities, you can become a vassal and rise to the ranks of a faction, you can become a trader or a mercenary, and even create your own faction. The game has no main story other than a few beginner quests that act more like an extended tutorial. There's also a great multiplayer and mediocre custom battles, but I'm going to focus on the main game for now. Anyway, time to get into more details. The game starts off with you creating a background for your character. This comes in forms of multiple choice questions to make your character build. I'm not going to cover every single one. They consist of your character's life beforehand and the decisions that brought them here. These questions determine your starting skills, proficiencies, and attributes. In fact, even choosing whether to be male or female affects the game. Female characters have a slight boost in agility and intelligence, but they also need more renown to achieve most things in the game, like joining a faction or to be granted a fief. There are many different skills for almost every aspect of the game. They are governed by attributes. The attributes that governs each skill must be 3 times larger than the skill in order to upgrade it. So for example, you would need at least 9 agility to increase fighting skill to 3. Proficiencies are how good you are with your weapons. We'll return to those later when discussing combat. After increasing your skills with the starting amount of points and customizing your appearance, you and your character can be on your way. There are 6 factions across the map. The Nords, Vikings that excel in melee and foot combat. Vaegris, strong archers and offensive two-handers. Roduks, good with spears and crossbows. Kurjit Kante, inspired by Mongols, have masterful horse archery. Serid Sultanate, in the desert to the bottom of the map. Good heavy cavalry and skirmishing. And finally the Kingdom of Swadia, my personal favorite. Swadia has some of the best cavalry in the game. I'm not even joking when I say that me and my band of knights can fight off armies 4 times our size with almost no casualties. You can also make a faction once you get powerful enough in the game. Each faction has their own tournaments based on the skills of each. This provides a good way to practice and master the playstyles of your faction. Or you can always practice in the arena if there are no tournaments being held nearby. The combat in Warband is vast. There are 6 total weapons proficiencies: one-handed, two-handed, polearms, archery, crossbows, and throwing. The melee weapon types all use directional combat. You can attack in 4 different directions: left, right, down, and thrust. With one-handed you can use a shield at the same time. Two-handed weapons do more damage, but you can only thrust when a shield is equipped. A shield will block in all directions at the same time, and a two-handed weapon can only block in one direction at a time. Ranged weapons are a bit different. When the attack button is held, the crosshair will form in various accuracies. Bows are less accurate but can shoot faster arrows. Crossbows don't lose accuracy over time, and throwing weapons are for very short distances. Mounted combat allows you to multiply damage if you build up enough speed. There's a vast pool of armor and weapons to acquire, and horses with different stats. War is probably the most fun part of the game, like sieging cities, fighting large armies. If you become a vassal, when war breaks out at some point, you will receive orders to join the current marshal on the front lines. But all you really do is follow them, help them in their battles, and do some basic orders. The siege battles are fun at first, but get pretty repetitive after a while because they all end up being the same most of the time. The open battles are probably the best part of the game. The limit on the battle sizes can be changed up to 150 max units, so that's 75 per side. If an army is too big for that, then they divide proportionally and reinforcements will gradually show up until the army is depleted. You can also give out commands for your army to follow you, charge, hold position, etc. There are various battlefields for different circumstances. If you're sacking a village, let's say, and get attacked, then the battlefield will actually be at the village. The most important part of any army is troop capacity, and obviously the troops themselves. Charisma and leadership is a good way to start, but long term the best way is to get renown. 25 renown adds 1 troop spot, so you need several hundred renown to get a decent size. You can recruit various troops in taverns or hire prisoners, but the easiest way is to go to small villages. Each faction will have their own volunteers to upgrade trees. Recruits can be upgraded to much better units. At the end of each battle, XP gets distributed throughout your army. Higher units cost more, but are much more effective on the battlefield. You can also be the lord or lady of cities and castles if they are granted you as a fief. To be granted a fief, you need to have good relations with your king, and if you take it yourself, you have a much better chance at receiving it. These are very useful to garrison troops and defend areas on the map. You can also build a few attachments like prisons to hold prisoners more safely. Fiefs also pay you taxes and tariffs, providing really good income. Well, to wrap this up, Mountain Blade Warband is probably one of the best medieval sandbox games out there. The amount of freedom it gives you right off the bat might confuse some people on what to do, but overall it's well done. The idea of having your own personal army, taking castles, and fighting other armies is just really cool, and this game pulls it off very well. There are some limitations that could be added to the game. Many of these things, like making sieges better and bigger armies, are fixed in later games. Warband is too complicated to give it a simple score, but if I were to, I would say 9 out of 10 would be good. I chose 9 out of 10 because of how much it achieves and how fun it is, but of course it's not perfect. The biggest con of the game is repetitiveness, and I'm mainly talking about the siege battles, to be honest. Anyway, that's going to do it for now. I'm definitely planning on doing more like this at some point, and I have plans for doing mod reviews on various games as well. Thanks for stopping by, see you later.